Hey everybody, Offset here. So I decided to do a jet tutorial for Battlefield 3. I'm thinking I'm going to make this a three-part series. Um, it's going to be pretty intensive for the most part, so we'll see how this turns out. Alright, enjoy it. Alright, so the first thing I'm going to do is recommend that you change your jet sticks layout to Legacy. Now what that does is it swaps out the left and right stick, so your left stick is actually going to be your roll. Um, and on the next clip I'm actually going to show you what the flaps do so you can better understand. On default, the left stick is essentially pointless. All it does is yaw, which is essentially a drift in a jet, so you're just going to be like throwing out your back tires, say if you were driving a car. Um, so it really helps out, and the jet buttons I just leave as default because you really don't want to mess with the throttles and things like that unless if you really hate it. So on this next clip is the flaps. Okay, so those are your yaw, which will essentially drag your plane out, and the wings are the roll, and that'll actually put your plane on its side. And then those back tail flaps are for your altitude. So in this next one, I'm going to be going over the loadouts for your jet. All right, here we go. This is my preferred loadout. I use this pretty much on every map. It doesn't really vary much for me. I use the air radar. It's really invaluable, if you're going to be fighting a bunch of jets. And if you have a jet, you're going to be fighting a jet. The extinguisher will actually re-enable your plane after being disabled, which if you don't know is when you're under 37%, you will actually lose most of the control in your plane, and yeah, that'll help you out. Rocket pods, if you want to do anything helpful for the ground game, then you definitely need to pick up rocket pods. You could also use guided missile, but it's not going to be as powerful unless if somebody's laser designating for you. But chances are people aren't going to be that team friendly, so I would just go ahead and stick with the rocket pods. And then you have your heat seekers, which are your only anti-air, anything, and it'll actually lock onto other air vehicles. Your ECM jammer is essentially a flare, kind of, except it'll stop every target from locking onto you, so you don't have to worry about any kind of missiles or anything for about 4 seconds, I think. And then the IR flares, I'm actually going to go on later to talk about some techniques for those. It's your basic anti-heat seeker loadout, or your perk. And then here we have maintenance, which will actually beef up the repair. So if you disengage for any amount of time, this essentially, it's 1.5 increased in repair, I believe. Beam scanner is useful for your heat seekers and your laser guided missiles. It'll actually lock on fairly quickly. I think it's about twice as fast as a lock on. And next we have stealth. This will actually make it take longer for other aircraft, or any kind of guided missile will take longer to actually lock onto you. Belt speed, this is the only other perk I use instead of air radar. It'll actually make your machine guns have a minimum time between your bursts, so essentially it'll come off overheat a lot quicker. Proximity scan, I really don't prefer this at all. What it'll do is it'll mark ground units on your minimap. I believe it does air as well, but if you're flying pretty fast, it's not worth it. Your minimap's pretty small without that air radar. So for the next clip, we're just going to be looking at some in-game footage finally. Sorry this is taking so long. So I'll see you there. Alright, first things first, when you take off, throw on those afterburners. Those afterburners will actually give you increased airspeed, which will get you off the ground faster. And if they're watching your base, it's definitely a good thing to get off the ground as fast as possible. So for the remainder of this, I'm kind of just going to be commentating, telling you about my thought processes behind these little engagements. And what you should really be paying attention to is the air radar, which is on the bottom left of your screen, and that is from that perk. A lot of what I do and a lot of the motions I make and the decisions I make throughout flying jets is noticing where your enemies are, what direction they're facing, and where your wingman is in relation to that enemy. So right here, it's just the basic stuff. I thought I'd just show you a little bit of maneuvering and trying to point out some mistakes that they make. So right now, this guy actually disengaged the first enemy, and you never want to do that because chances are if you disengage, they both have a chance to get on your tail. And maybe you can shake off one, but it's hard as hell to shake off two. And here's a little example of stall out. You never want to go above around 750 meters. It's just impossible to get above that, really, unless if you have a lot of airspeed and get out of it. And if you can't and you stall out, you're basically a sitting duck. And throughout this whole thing, I want you guys to notice that I spot constantly. That's going to help your wingman out and you out. Sometimes these planes do tend to blend in with the background, and if you're engaging from fairly far away, you won't be able to see them unless they have a nice big orange spot over their head. So right now, I'm noticing that I have a guy engaging me from my left, and he's actually going to pick up on me instead of my wingman. And yeah, my wingman actually left me high and dry. He disengaged to go shoot at a helicopter, I believe. But anyway, pick up this kill, and I don't think this guy was using air radar because he ends up losing me and swinging off target, and then that's a nice little love tap. I was lucky. These guys really aren't too great. They're just kind of flying around. I don't think either of them had air radar because they weren't trying to do anything to get away from me, or really until I started shooting at them, which makes it pretty easy. Alright, and here you're going to notice the first thing you want to do after you wipe both pilots out is, get some distance from the battlefield. Because this is when you're really going to start scanning to see if, you can pick off any ground units or help your team out in any way. And right here I'm actually going to pick up a tank with my rockets. I'm going to get the disable. I don't actually think I kill him. And then, if you have enough room and you're comfortable with coming up off the ground quick enough, then switch over to your machine gun and put a few rounds in them, and sometimes you'll actually get the kill, and it's pretty nice to get those extra points. Alright, so the next pro tip, if you guys didn't know, jets have a 45-second respawn time. So that basically means once you kill your first jet out of the two, in 45 seconds a new jet will be up, and you know how quickly people spam to get in those. So you really got to pay attention. And right there, map awareness, very important. There's a lot of hills in Battlefield, and this isn't Call of Duty where it's just flat terrain everywhere. So you really got to be paying attention to your surroundings. I've seen so many people get snapped off my tail because they run into a crane or a mountain or something. And it can be a breather, but you never want to be in that position yourself. And right here, this is a little turning battle, as I like to call it, and usually what ends up happening is you will circle and circle and circle until somebody just finally gives up, like he did there. And it's really a pain in the ass. But your airspeed for that, you really want to keep it around 280, which, if you didn't know, is in that top left side of your HUD in-game. And 280 will really give you the best turning radius and accoutrement to airspeed. So you won't, get stalled out or anything like that. And you never really want to slow down too much when you're in jets because it's just not beneficial. And here's a little trick I like to do. I like to fly upside down for a lot of these strafing runs after I've downed jets. And what it'll help you do is essentially maneuver quickly, if you need to dive, because most people will actually come from you right side up, and they won't be able to engage you quite as well. And that's a great example of me not being able to finish off a tank because I hit him with splash damage with my rockets instead of actually pegging him with them. And yeah, that guy just stalled. So if you wanted to know what that looked like from another point of view, that's what it looks like when an enemy stalls, and that's really a great time to just pick them off. So as you can see, one thing you really want to do too, especially if you're not too comfortable with your aiming skills, I was a little rusty off this game because it was the first one of the day. Just load off and burst. It's really a lot easier to make short sustained bursts and be able to control. And that's actually me stalling out, which is hilarious because I wasn't paying attention. I think I got a text or something. But again, that happens when you're at around 750 meters to 800. And I'm not exactly sure on the specific, but you really just want to stay under that because you're just a sitting duck. So that first game, 7-1. I had some tank disables and everything like that, so I was actually on top of the leaderboard. So yeah. Alright, well that was a very basic rundown on the starter tips for flying jets in Battlefield 3. So for the next episode I'll be talking about evasion, equipment usage, stuff like that, and for 3 it's going to be playing rush in jets and primarily ground engagements like getting tanks and mortars, all that kind of fun stuff. So yeah, hope you guys enjoyed it. Thanks.